One love, beautiful minds, unique minds. What's happening? Shout out to all the parents, all the people that are going to have kids one day that's trying to leave generational wealth behind, making sure that their children have a better opportunity, maybe possibly than what they were given. And I want to tap onto that in a very, very unique way. That's going to seem challenging in the beginning, but by the end, I'm pretty sure you'll think it to be very informational. Because I too, just like you, wanted to leave generational health, and I'm going to make sure to leave some things behind outside of money, land, and other things if all things go according to plans. But I've been blessed enough to meet some people that are well off. I would say maybe the one person I got in mind was able to receive an inheritance and is doing very well for themselves, but it's not because of the inheritance. We were able to have a very interesting conversation, and I'm very glad to have had that conversation because that conversation sparked me on a trail of research to start seeing if other people had like minds towards leaving inheritance for their kids, because this individual said he wouldn't do it. And at first I was very much intrigued as to why. So I asked some questions to, provoke some answers. And it gave me a thought process that I know can only have come from someone that achieved or received an inheritance, that received a pass down of generational wealth. Because most people that want to leave a lump sum of money behind for their children, I would say 7 out of 10 more than likely didn't have it for themselves. So most of their drive is coming from the fact that they believe maybe their life would have been simpler, or they would have had more options had they had the chance to be able to come into some money when they were born or be raised into money. It's quite a simple understanding. It makes pretty good sense. Most people that didn't have that opportunity would love to have had it. However, I've come across some interesting thought processes as to why some people would not want to leave their inheritance behind. Because an inheritance can ruin a person, mainly if they are unaware of what exactly needs to be done with it to very great detail. You know what I mean? Sometimes if you think about it in context, our great-great-grandparents had land. They, depending on what race you are coming from, what background you come from, maybe they had land, maybe they had a house, maybe they had a farm where they did agriculture, they raised cattle, they raised livestock, they grew their vegetables. It was because of the times they were in. As the generations passed on, things got more convenient, and now we're here. Most of us get our groceries or our vegetables and animal feeding, our food from grocery stores. We didn't have to do so much manual labor or keeping up with things in order to keep our families full. Convenience does that. Convenience changes the game. Not saying that everyone needs to work hard for everything they have, but there's a certain knowledge base that gets gained when you have to go up steps. And one of the things that I heard that was very interesting, I can't remember if it was Daniel Craig, the guy from 007. I know he said he wouldn't leave an inheritance behind, but his thought process was very interesting because recognizing your generation is going to be completely different from your children and your children's children's generation. The things that they're going to experience, the world they're going to experience, the way the way their world economy and the way finances are going to be completely different as time goes by. As we're seeing right now, we're dealing with one of the worst states of inflation. If you live in the United States, that's been since, I can't remember, I think they said since the early 1900s. It's pretty bad. We would have never expected, for 0.01 interest rates for savings accounts. You know what I mean? Putting money in the savings account is a waste of time at this point. But back in the day, that was the thing to do. So the laws of money, or I would say the rules of money, can constantly change, and you have to be adaptive. So leaving money behind without teaching your children how to have an adaptive mind towards money can be very dangerous. I personally think, out of listening to the different answers, that there's something even more deep that I've never heard anyone else touch on, and that is what I'm creating this video for. And I'm gonna try to explain it in the next 2 minutes, and that is giving our future generations a lump sum of money without teaching them how to discover their innate talents, their worth, and their abilities. Mainly because the future generations are going to be dealing with a different time. Artificial intelligence is going to be taking a lot of the jobs that are now being worked by men and women. So as these jobs start to dissipate because of artificial intelligence making things easier for these companies, the job opportunities are going to be different. Going to school, getting a degree, and trying to land a good job will not be so prevalent 20, 30, 40 years from now. People got to create. They got to have a mind to do something with their abilities that they can put their name on, start a business, create a solution, be a solutions-oriented individual. And that takes confidence, that takes creativity, and it does take financial backing. So having money is part of the equation, but if it's going to be much more needed than that. They got to have the confidence to do some things that might be outside of their comfort zone. They got to know in their innate abilities. They got to know what they specialize in and how to capitalize on what they specialize in. What is their unique traits? What are their unique talents and skills that they know that they do better than anyone else? And they got to be able to build on that in order to be able to make something that can be of maybe of an organization or solve a major problem and sell it to an institution. It's going to be a different mindset that's going to be needed. So just giving a whole bunch of money may have worked for generations that were born in the 80s and 90s, maybe even the early 2000s, because, you can buy good amount of stock, depending on when you came in, you could have bought crypto. There was opportunities that were there, the real estate bubbles, take advantage of those things. If you had a lump sum of money, you could have really took some things and made things happen. But we don't know what the opportunities are going to be in the future. So for those of you that want to leave generational wealth behind for your children, and for those of you that don't have children but are thinking about generational wealth, it's very imperative for you to make sure to do some research on child psychology and figure out ways to help them better develop their innate abilities as their unique selves, help them build their confidence and maintain confidence, put them through courses, classes that teach them how to be creative, how to think outside the box, how to be creators and not just great employees. Because there's going to come a time where that's going to be pretty much the main way to become wealthy, is to create something. It's always been, but as the future goes and artificial intelligence steps in to a lot of the roles that humans are taking right now, it's going to be more prevalent. So keep this in mind. You got to make sure to teach your children more than just how to balance the ledger, the difference between assets and liabilities, because the future is going to be much different from what we've ever seen. I'm pretty sure those of us that are, millennials, we know about the Jetsons. That's going to be the future at some point, maybe 50 years later, maybe 60 years later. But just knowing how to get a degree is not always going to cut it. Saving them to go through school and giving them a bunch of money and not giving them any direction as to how they can hone their abilities, hone their mind, the creative mind, to take that lump sum of money and do something with it that can actually be fruitful for the times that they're in and their future children is going to be in. It's going to be more important than just leaving a lump sum of money behind. So generational wealth is the move. Most of us have dealt with generational brokenness, is what Robert Kiyosaki put in his book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. A lot of us may have suffered from generational brokenness. Broke generations teaching nothing because they don't know finances. They can't really teach people how to really prosper because they just didn't know. It could have been lack of information, could have been them having to go to war. It could be a multitude of things. But the reality of it is, just trying to solve this generational thing by throwing a bunch of money to your future children could be detrimental in a negative way if you're not careful. As we've all seen, there's plenty of wealthy people that have a bunch of money, and we also have a bunch of addictions. Because without self-discipline and delayed gratification, you can take all that money and blow it with the quickness on things that'll destroy you. So we got to also teach them about discipline. We got to teach them about delayed gratification. Teaching them that when you plant an apple seed, you plant it on the ground. It takes time to germinate and create. And when it just starts to sprout, that's not when you start to pick it. You got to let it grow. We got to teach them these things. Otherwise, they're going to find out the hard way that having a bunch of money isn't exactly what was needed, because they can get a bunch of money, and then if they don't know what to do with it, it can probably cost them in the end. You may leave it in the hands of someone that you thought you can trust, and then they're getting an inheritance, not understanding the legal sides of things, that there's a person in charge of the money, and they may mess things up, take all the money out too quick and blow it all when the person that you left in charge had longevity in mind. We got to think past just giving them money and think about what other information we're given to pair with the money. That's ultimately what I'm bringing this video for, to make sure you consider what to pair with the money, what information they need to know. Teach them that the best skill they can develop is to become an accurate learner, and to learn their own self-value, to know what their unique talents are and how to build on them, how to build on their unique, always been good traits. Because if you can get paid for being yourself, and you have the lump sum of money that can be able to afford whatever avenue you direct, then it's a better chance for longevity and sustainable success. And they can teach that to their children. But we got to teach people to start finding their innate talents, delayed gratification, discipline, outside of just the fruitial aspect. Because if it was just that easy, I'm pretty sure no family that ever had money would ever have fallen. So I just want to share this love, share this light. This is an important message. It's not, anything encouraging. This is more informational, because I seen this big movement in regards to generational wealth, and I wanted to make sure that everyone was also considering the bigger picture outside of just giving them a bunch of money. The legalities of it, teach them that there will be legalities. They need to learn how this process is going to work prior to you leaving this world. So it's things that they need to know. And I don't know it all, but you can do your research to find out. But we got to be smart about what we're leaving behind. Just leaving a house and telling them this is yours. They might sell it without thinking about the fact that maybe it was the land that was more important than the house. There's certain things we just got to make sure to take those next few steps. Don't just leave them something and just say, hey, it's yours. We got to leave them information as well. Peace and love. One love, sending nothing but peace and love and good vibes to you, fam.